Hi everyone, it's Kathleen. We are here today to start our tag book. This is the tag book that I made for Penelope in our tag swap. I'm using this as a guide while I create this Christmas tag book with you on camera. I have 8 of these prepared that I will be working on. 6 will be in my Etsy shop. 1 is for me, 1 is for Lisa. So it will be like this I've shown in my previous video. And we are using some printables from JunkJournalDavao. These are there's many images on Dave's Christmas set that I'm using. These 8 are going to be made into that special folded page that I'll do later on in a separate video. So there's 8 of them. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, because I'm making 8 different ones, so they'll all have 8 different ones. I just wanted to show you quickly the other pages in Dave's kit that we may or may not be using. I just printed the ones out that I may be using. There's more that I have not even printed out yet. Love this one. Just love the fonts on that. This is a background page. Love that. And this is a background page. This reminds me of some vintage velvet fabric. I just love that. Okay, so I'm going to put this away. And I am going to show you the backgrounds for the tag books. And I'm going to show you how to make one of these snippets for the front. So I'm going to place that to the side. The snippet looks like this. It's layered up with crocheted bit, doily, Dave's printable, my stash, and labels for my stash. Okay, so let's have a look very quickly at the backgrounds. The backgrounds I have collaged already. They are collaged from vintage papers and printables. I would like to show you that the difference. I'm going to go through them quickly, and then I'm going to show you how to put together that snippet. So I have used photo frames. This is one photo frame that I have cut in half. You would put a picture in there. This is a paper photo frame, an old one, and you would have put a picture in those 4 little corners. And the same with this one. So it does not matter what size they are. You want your back one to be larger. This one here happens to be 5.5 by 8.5. You'll see, I'll give you quick measurements of the other ones, that they don't have to be that tall. This one is 4 by 5.5, and they're both the same size. Ideally, it would be small, medium, and large. But this is how I'm going to create mine for myself. I love how you have the different collage bits sticking in and out. On my first page, I collaged plain paper, sheet music. Flipped it over, caramelized vintage book page, and a book page. That's the first page. This second page, vintage invoice, and vintage papers collaged. One from a magazine and another one. Strips. I tore out a page number. That's the second page. The third page has a book page and a printable. Oops, I'll just close this like I'm going to close it. I'm going to go on this one. I'm going to go up about 1 inch from the left-hand side. From the right-hand side, go down 1 inch from the top. Oops, it gets tucked in like that. So my base book looks like this. Flip it over, it's collaged as well. Part of a hymnal and a printable. I'm going to go very quickly through these other ones just so to give you an idea of what they will look like. This one here, they are 3 different sizes. They will 3.5 by 5.5, 3.5 by 6, 4.5 by 6.25. So as long as they're nestled, the back one has to be larger than the front one, that's all. So again, it's a picture frame that a picture would have been mounted in, made out of paper years ago. It's collaged with 2 items: plain caramelized book page, sheet music, book page, and a book page. This one here is a postcard collaged with vintage invoice, collaged with the book page, magazine page, and book spine, ripped out page number. This is a printable, and when we close it up, we close the right-hand side first. It goes a little higher. This left side goes a little lower. And on the back, we have a hymnal and a train engineer's ticket, vintage. 1, 2, 3. See how they're nestled? The smallest one is 3 3/4 by 5.5. This other one is 3.5 by 6, and the tallest one is 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. And same thing. You can use a cabinet card or a mounted photo piece, or just cardstock if you don't have that. Same collage, plain book page, sheet music. Open it up, book page, book page. 2 different kinds, 2 different colors. Open up this. This is a vintage postcard. On the back, vintage invoice. Vintage papers, 1 kind, 2 kinds, and the blank is 3 kinds, and a torn out page number. This one here, beautiful index from a book page. That's a printable. When you close it up, close the right-hand side, then the left-hand side. Look at the back. We have magazine, vintage magazine from April 1920, and a typed letter. Next one, 3 pieces you can see. So they all vary. The smallest piece is 3 3/4 by just under 5.5. And the largest piece is just about 4.5 by 6.25. So I wanted to have all similar. So blank book page, sheet music, book page, beautiful book page with that trim. I was lucky enough to have those invoices, vintage invoices, postcard, and just little different magazine pages, little different plain sheets, and the page number. Vintage book, vintage magazine. And if we close it, you see how they all blend in because they have similar tones and similar on the back. Hymnal page and a train ticket. This is a little bit larger one, so they're going to be a little bit different sizes. So the smallest one here is about 4 by 5.5, and the largest one is 5.5 by 7.5. So same, plain, paper, sheet music, 2 different kinds of book pages. This is a cabinet card. You can see the embossed on here. And I covered it up with that vintage invoice. And 1, 2, and then 3 different kinds of papers. And I just tore out a number. Love this paper. This is a printable. This is a vintage paper and probably a printable. So it goes like this, top, right and left. So they're very similar. I created these. The papers will look a little different. The largest sheet here is 5 by 7.5, 4 by 5.5. So the same on the front, plain and music, 2 different kinds of book pages. That postcard, the invoice, and 1, 2, and then 3 different kinds of book pages. Just a page number cut out. This is a book page. This is probably a printable. Index, railway ticket, and when it's closed, it'll look like this. Love how these look. And the last, no, there's 2 more. Very similar. So the largest one is 5.5 by 7.5. Smallest 4 by 5.5. So again, the first page is plain and music, 2 different kinds of book pages, postcard, invoice, 1, 2, and 3 different kinds of book pages and a number, book page, printable, hymnal, original book page, digital. And we are going to use this. So these are digitals from my stash as well as printables from my stash that I have. This biggest one is 5.5 by 7.5. Smallest is 3.5 by 5.5. So again, same 2, plain music, 2 kinds of book page, postcard that has that vintage, and the 1, 2. See that they just look a little different depending on how you collage them. So similar bases, different book page and that printable. Close the pages, and the back has those 2 pieces on it of paper, hymnal and the engineer's ticket. So all similar. So now we are getting into the, oh, come on, here you are. This is the one I'm working with, and I have a big doily that I cut, and where did that go? Where are you? Here you are. Let go. My doily looked like this to begin with, big round doily, and I cut out a little section like this, 1 for each of the 8 books I'm making. I'm left with a piece like that. It's going to be about inch down, inch up, so it's going to sit like this. I want my crocheted piece. I go with the design, and I'm going to put that center portion in the corner here, corner of this. Let's put that back right there, and I am just moving it up like this so these are my 2 intersection points. When I do a snippet, I have a bottom and a top. These 2 pieces, these are my 2 pivot points. So the bottom pivot point will be the center of this doily, and it has to fall on that line somewhere like this. I have a couple of pieces that I'm going to lay on top. I have a 1/4 of a paper doily. It was a square paper doily, and I'm following the design, and it's a 1/4. So from this point, I followed the design, folded it down, still from that point, followed that curve, folded it down. So I have a nice pleated piece. My nice pleated piece is going to sit like that. centered from the top here, so it lays down nicely. The next is a torn piece that it's approximately 6.5 high by 1.5 wide, and then I tore into it. I'm going to center that right at the top, and this first one is going to go down within this. So I'm centering it at the top. I have pivot points when I do mine, and it'll go straight down the center into that little portion. This is another one of Dave's printables. It has newsprint and leaves and old carriages on it. This is approximately 1.25 inches by 6. And I want to see this left-hand side. It's going to come over about around 1/4 inch. And I'm going to put it on, I'm going to go over about 1/2 inch on the bottom like that, so I can see my little dark area. I had a printable with some layered pages on it that I tore a strip out of, and my pages get smaller, so 1 inch wide by 5.25, and it's torn. And I'm still pivoting, and I'm still going like a dial out, sticking off a little bit and going off left at the top, right at the bottom. This is just a piece of a printable that I tore, roughly 1.25 by 2, and it's torn. And I'm going to, this is plain in this portion. I go with what I have, so this is plain. This is where I'm going to stick this piece of paper, and I'm going to, I want to see all this black piece. So this is going to be where that's sitting in that center area. This is one of Chapter 1's labels. I'm going to go down 1/4 inch, and then 1/4 inch on that last piece of paper I put down, and then place it down. I'm going to take all of this to my sewing machine, put it in my sewing machine, and I'm going to go all the way around that label once, and I go twice across the top. When it is sewn, where are we? This is what they look like. It's the same layered piece, and I have sewn all the way across and then off again. So the back, you can see it's just sewn on like this. So now I am going to place it here, and eventually I will be putting a paper clip to hold this. So that's how it will sit in my book for right now. It will be loose on the top with a paper clip. Inside, we will be creating 2 more things on a different video. So all of these are created, and they look similar, but just a little different, only because of the tag that I used. So it's a nice, beautiful snippet to put on. Did I say tag? It's a label. The different label that I use. So they're all very similar. I made 8 for the 8 different books that I'm creating. This one has a little red one on it, and this. So that's all I have for you today, and we'll be creating the other 2 pieces in the next video. Thank you, everyone, and bye for now.